Welcome one and all, I'm Decoy, back in Starship Troopers. And of course we had a fairly significant update today, update 1.1, which did introduce some quality of life improvements as well as the Loadout Locker, which is pretty darn significant in and of itself, but it might not have went far enough. But let's just get straight into the Loadout Locker, because I know a lot of people have wanted this. So in the patch notes, it says, Troopers, the Loadout Locker is a new feature coming in Update 1.1. Loadout Lockers can be found at the back of the initial dropship in Attack and Secure, Arc, and Hive Hunt. While in Horde, they can be found placed randomly within the build zone for the first 2 waves before self-destructing. The goal of the Loadout Lockers is to allow Troopers to change their loadout early on in the game. Now the only question might be, why only early on? Choosing a loadout and locking in on that choice is integral to our intended gameplay. Troopers are given incomplete information about the combat situation, and they must make choices on the gear they bring. By limiting loadout changes in the early phases of the mission, we continue to reinforce both a loadout's strong aspect and weaknesses, while offering a little bit more quality of life and flexibility. We want to ensure that the choice of equipment and class abilities still matter, as the different classes are not equally viable at all stages of the mission. Engineers and Rangers may excel during the opening phases and or/resource running, while Guardians and Demolishers can be invaluable during the final siege. Troopers will need to play smart, improve constantly, and rely on their teammates to cover their loadout shortcomings. So, and this continues on. But, the one thing I do want to say here is that I feel like putting the Loadout Locker in the dropship, and only right at the beginning in the dropship, kind of seems pointless to me. Mostly because you don't really realize how screwed your team's loadouts are until the dropship's gone. Especially if you're one of the first few people to hop into the match, you're already in there, you have no idea what the rest of the team is picking loadout-wise. So, I mean, you've got people that will just pick whatever. They're not really worried about what the team actually needs. So there are definitely scenarios where you can run into a match and there might only be one friggin' medic, or maybe there's a few medics but none of them are running stems. And you're like, oh crap, I really wish I could change. Now, I do understand that they don't want to allow you to change classes throughout the entire match. I do feel like instead of the Loadout Locker being, tied to the dropship itself, maybe in, say, Advance and Secure, that sort of thing. Maybe, as the bunkers drop down as you hit the little checkpoints along the way, maybe put it in that first checkpoint, and it's there until you hit the second checkpoint. Because mostly, at least that leaves a little bit of actual wiggle room to fix your loadout before you get too far into it. But either way, you will hop down in the comments, let me know your thoughts. I'm going to be honest, I wish the Loadout Locker worked a little bit differently. In my mind, I've always assumed that as I continue through a mission, if I die, well, that trooper's dead. Now I'm playing a different trooper, and that trooper might not be spec'd out the exact same way I am. They are, in my mind, reinforcements. But maybe I'm looking at it wrong. So beyond that, we've got known issues. Trophy progress for bugs killed on PS5 appears stuck. PS5 players may encounter stuttering on player entry into a match. Pressing play and entering a queue and changing screens to another UI screen will cause the play button to not be functional, but will still queue players into a game. That seems like a mouthful. Class ability UI may disappear but will still function. Redeploy or use the loadout locker for it to reappear. Of course, there's a whole bunch of fixes, but one thing I do want to make a note of that I noticed while playing since the update is if you run up to grab some stems that a medic has put down, instead of having to grab them one at a time, you grab from it and it gives you a full stack of 3, which is freaking awesome. Let's see. At least a fix that they mention in here is the Xbox controller now allows skipping of the intro cutscene. Also, fairly darn useful because, I mean, the intro cutscene's cool, but sometimes you just want to get into the match, especially if you're hopping into a match late and you're not starting at the same time as everyone else. Let's see. There's just so many different things in here. But hey, they do say Xbox players can now hear PlayStation players in voice chat during matches, so that's pretty darn cool. It also mentions in here about how you can replay like the story missions to gain XP and, you know, work on weapon progression. But as you replay it, you get diminishing returns. And it says that it will continue to reward you XP and whatnot for up to 3 playthroughs. Now there's a ridiculously long list of localization and UI. Just insane amount of things. Fix the AI troopers on planet X11 where they won't get stuck on ledges near the pit. So that's something. Again, there's just a ridiculous amount of stuff in here and I'm happy to see it. I'm still messing around seeing what works, what doesn't work. I'm hoping they fix the issue where my weapon gets stuck over zooming, because while that is kind of cool, it can also get extremely annoying. So I'm hoping a few more matches in I'll be able to safely say that that has stopped. But overall, I mean, I'm pretty darn happy with this update. Hopefully they revisit loadout lockers a little bit later on. Maybe tweak how long they stick around for. But hey, it's a step in the right direction, so honestly, I can't really complain too much about it. I'm happy to see them there. Hop down in the comments, let me know your thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, sub, and share. Later.